My sister Linda and I were reborn on the day our family's business went bankrupt. Linda was on her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Mom, please give my sister the chance to go to school. I'm willing to sacrifice for our family, drop out, and marry Larry." Larry is the heir of the richest family but became a vegetable after a car accident. In my previous life, I married him and, less than a month later, he woke up. The entire wealthy family credited me with his recovery, and I was adored. But Linda ended up in a terrible relationship, scammed and almost beaten to death. She blamed me for taking the identity of being Larry's wife and ended up hitting me with a car, killing me. When I opened my eyes again, her earnest display made me chuckle coldly. Even reborn, a fool is still a fool. "Mom, please let my sister go to school. I'll sacrifice and marry Larry," Linda repeated, kneeling, looking determined. Seeing my parents moved by her words and their teary eyes, I knew they were touched. Our family was bankrupt, and only Larry's family was willing to help, but only if we married into them. But everyone knew Larry was in a vegetative state due to a car accident 6 months ago. Marrying him meant possibly being a widow for life. In the previous life, Linda secretly bribed a servant to switch the drawing lots when we decided who would marry Larry to avoid marrying him herself. She generously let me draw first. But she didn't know Larry woke up less than a month after I married him. People envied my luck, and Larry's family credited me for his recovery. My parents were happy for me, but Linda was consumed by jealousy, her eyes red with envy. She angrily married a wealthy-looking man, but he turned out to be a fraud, cheating her financially and emotionally, and was abusive. Consumed with anger, she thought I stole her wealthy identity, and after almost being beaten to death by her husband, she took a car and killed me. When I woke up again, it was on the day our family went bankrupt. This time around, she didn't even let our parents draw lots and offered herself to sacrifice. I realized she had reborn too. She knelt on the ground, and even though she tried to hide it, the excitement in her eyes was undeniable. She thought marrying Larry would give her a superior life, just like my previous life. Fool. She has no idea what I went through in Larry's family. She has no clue how disgusting and perverse Larry and his family are. "Linda, are you sure? You know Larry is like a plant," my mom asked, still a little reluctant. "I'm sure," Linda said firmly. "I'm only attending an unknown college, while my sister goes to a prestigious one. It would be a waste for her to drop out and marry." Linda was never good at studying. She got into college because our family paid for it. Hearing her say this, my parents felt that Linda had indeed grown up and understood her responsibilities, nodding in appreciation. "If it's your wish, then we will honor it, Linda. It's a sacrifice for you." Linda was smug when she got my parents' approval. She even taunted me with her eyes. I pretended not to understand, showing appreciation instead. After all, soon enough, she'd be the one enjoying hell on earth. Once it was settled for Linda to marry Larry, she started acting very arrogant at home. Since childhood, she hadn't been favored as much by our parents, but that was her doing. She didn't listen to them, refused to learn, and started dating in middle school, causing our parents endless trouble. At one point, she almost ran away with someone. Later, she insisted on marrying the fake rich guy, Mark. Our parents didn't like him, but she didn't care. After marriage, she constantly asked them for money because of Mark, almost emptying our savings, disappointing our parents to the point they stopped helping her. In the previous life, without our parents' support, Linda came asking me for money. Naturally, I declined. First, because I thought Mark was unreliable and exploiting her, and second, despite my glamorous appearance in Larry's family, I never had access to their money. But Linda believed I wanted bad for her, refusing to help. Now, as the family hero, she felt triumphant and aimed to vent all her past grievances as she prepared to become a high-status rich wife. "I want an apple," she loudly demanded. "Butler," I called to the servant. "Sis, I meant for you to peel it for me," Linda insisted brazenly. I looked at her. She said, as if it was the most natural thing, I'm marrying the vegetable Larry for you to free you from suffering. Shouldn't you be nicer to me? Taking a fruit knife, I peeled the apple for her. She's right, she is indeed heading to suffer on my behalf. And her good days won't last, might as well show pity for now. Handing her the peeled apple, Linda gave me a sour look. How am I supposed to eat a full apple like this? Are you trying to choke me? I want it cut into pieces. Silently, I sliced it into little pieces for her. Feed me, she ordered again. I fed her a piece with a small fork. As soon as she took a bite, she spat it out at me. Before I could react, she accused first, Mom, Sis gave me a rotten apple. Does she want to kill me? I rolled my eyes. At that moment, our parents returned from work. They had indulged Linda lately, treating her much more forgivingly than usual. My mom soothed, your sister didn't mean it. Mom will get a new one for you. You've always taken her side. Now, even when I sacrifice so much for the family, you still favor her, Linda fumed. You're both my children. How could we favor one over the other? I'm strict with you because it's for your own good. I don't care, Sis gave me bad apples. You must make it up to me. How should we make it up to you? I want that Chanel bag, the one for $130,000. I saw my mom's gasp. Our family business was still in crisis. $130,000 was like squeezing blood out of a stone. Despite my parents' explanations, Linda was unreasonable and adamant. With no other choice, they reluctantly agreed. Linda smirked triumphantly. After they left, she taunted, Sis, don't be jealous. I'm hardly jealous. I'll just watch as you self-destruct and end up friendless. Linda became more and more unbearable at home, demanding everything be the best despite our family's current struggle. I saw my parents' renewed fondness for her slowly wearing away, bit by bit. Linda didn't care, as she believed soon she'd live a life of luxury and wouldn't need the family anymore. She thought we'd all have to heed her every wish someday. But in the end, she was still somewhat wary of me. She went so far as to introduce me to Mark. So in this life, Linda not only wanted to snatch the wealth that was mine, but also hoped that I'd repeat her past mistakes and bear her misfortune. Absolutely disgusting. After being reborn, instead of improving herself, becoming independent, she was all about schemes and men. 100 rebirths couldn't save her foolishness. Naturally, I refused Linda's kindness, and she threw a fit, demanding my parents force me to apologize to Mark for making her lose face. By now, my parents were already a little fed up with Linda but endured because of her sacrifice. Linda gleefully demanded an explanation from them. I could take no more, I'll marry him. The noisy hall suddenly fell silent. Since my sister feels marrying Larry is such a huge sacrifice, I'll do it. I declared loudly, as the older sister, it's my duty. Linda turned pale. Frightened. She didn't expect me to say such a thing. Thinking she could leverage marrying Larry against me, she hadn't anticipated my counter-move. Our parents didn't say anything. They, too, had lost patience with Linda's antics. Mom, Dad, just tell Larry's family I'll marry him. They just need a daughter-in-law, anyone will do, I stated firmly. No. I'll marry. Linda protested, genuinely panicking, I'll do it, it shouldn't be sister. I kept insisting, deliberately, Linda's willing to sacrifice for the family, and so am I. Knowing Linda would never agree, as marrying Larry was her obsession. It's my choice. Sis, don't take that from me, I'm not afraid of suffering. I'm proud to help the family, Linda frantically assured. Afraid I'd follow through. Make sure you don't feel it's a burden. If so, don't bring it up, it creates a huge mental load, I advised. I won't mention it again, Linda promised urgently. Linda finally stopped flaunting her sacrifices to get her way. Our parents also enjoyed a few peaceful days. Until Linda finally married Larry. On her wedding day, she whispered in my ear, Sis, from today, you'll only envy me. I smiled. thinking silently, Linda, congratulations, you've officially stepped into hell. Even without Larry present, their wedding was grand. In the last lifetime, Linda envied me greatly. Lazy, disinterested in self-improvement, yet doing worse than me and unable to bear my success. Her face looked sour at my wedding but consoled by Larry's vegetative state. This time, the tables had turned. Her happiness was evident. The ceremony proceeded with Larry's brother Jack holding Larry's photo. Seeing Jack, my body trembled involuntarily. Memories of his abuse flooded back, forcing me naked, kneeling like a dog. Anna, what's wrong? Mom noticed my pallor. Nothing, I assured, clenching my fists under the table. She didn't probe further, as the ceremony had begun. I masked my fear and watched the ceremony. Jack's gaze on Linda was cryptic, with a smirk I recognized all too well, monstrous. Do you take Mr. Larry as your husband? The officiant inquired. I do, Linda declared, even if he never wakes, till death do us part. Applause erupted. Everyone was moved, now seeing Linda's love for Larry as genuine, not money-driven. Linda soaked in the applause, ignoring Jack's lascivious grin. Afterward, Linda happily departed with Larry's family. I watched her ecstasy, wishing her good luck. On the way home, Linda messaged me, unable to contain her need to flaunt. Sis, you saw how well Larry's family treats me? And Jack? Such a gentleman, so thoughtful. You're looking at him, do you have a thing for Jack? He's respectful, but we're beneath him, don't shame us. Don't embarrass me now that I'm married into wealth, Linda warned, assuming her superiority. I laughed, putting away my phone. Linda fears I'll seduce Jack, entering her envisioned opulent life? That's hilarious. Tonight, Jack would consummate the wedding for Larry, in the very bed Linda looks forward to sharing. The more Linda would beg, the more Jack would revel. Tonight was going to be a hellish ordeal. But none of it concerns me now. My priority is to save the company. When those brothers tire of Linda, they'll turn hostile. Last time, Linda killed me before I could see that day. This life, I'm ready. For revenge. No one who hurt me will escape. Traditionally, newlyweds visit the bride's family the day after the wedding. With Larry incapacitated, Linda returned alone. She looked uneasy, her walking strange. She glared daggers at me upon returning, but I feigned ignorance, warmly greeting her with our parents. Linda didn't express her grievances, the path was her choice, and she wasn't ready to lose face so soon. Still optimistic about Larry waking, she believed surviving the degenerate Jack would reward her the riches Larry's family offers. Yet she remains ignorant, unaware that if and when Larry awoke, he'd match or exceed his brother's depravity. Linda lingered throughout the day, reluctant to leave. Until Jack collected her personally. The moment Jack entered, Linda visibly paled. Our parents were amiable, oblivious. In front of outsiders, it wasn't just Jack, even Larry used to be that golden child too. They were always polite and really well received by the older folks. Jack politely said, "Auntie, no need to trouble yourself. I'm here on behalf of my parents to bring Linda home. They'd feel uneasy if she returned late by herself. Our family treats Linda really well," my parents genuinely remarked. Linda didn't dare speak. Jack smiled and said, "Linda marrying my brother makes her part of our family. Don't worry, we'll all treat her very kindly. Then we'll rely on you to take care of Linda." Jack nodded, saying to Linda, "Linda, let's go." I noticed Linda's face grew paler, and she was trembling uncontrollably. She suddenly looked at me and introduced, "This is my twin sister. She's top of her class, has a great figure, and is beautiful too." Jack glanced at me and politely greeted, "Hello." I replied, coolly. Linda wanted to say more, but I quickly added, "Linda, since Jack has come to pick you up, don't keep him waiting. You should head back." Our parents also urged her. Linda gritted her teeth, giving me a sharp look, and left. I knew what she was scheming. Sure enough, Shortly after, I got a message from Linda. Sis, don't say your little sister wasn't good to you. Even while marrying Rich, I still think of you. Today, I introduced you to Jack, you know how popular he is. If you're interested, I'll help you get a chance with him. I replied, no thanks. I can't handle such wealth. I'd rather you enjoy it. Linda wanted me to be her scapegoat, to dump Jack. Hilarious. Not like I'd fall for it. Besides, Jack has this weird quirk. He only likes women who belong to his brother. He isn't interested in other women. Linda later kept messaging, bragging about how great Jack was. I ignored them. I was getting busier anyway. Besides studying, I started helping my parents with the company. I realized why the business struggled in my last life. It was because it was moving in the wrong direction, overly focused on traditional offline sales. This was why, in that past life, Larry's family always had leverage over me. So, once I joined the company, I shifted its strategy, turning it into one of the first to do live streaming sales online. Back then, streaming wasn't huge yet, so I used attractive guys and girls to draw traffic. When the competition heated up, I became a streamer myself, speaking in 2 languages about poetry in far-off places, becoming a unique presence in the streaming world. Under my management, the company took off and thrived quickly. Half a year passed. Larry had already woken up. Just like the previous life, once he unexpectedly came around, his family credited everything to Linda, showering her with priceless jewelry and bags, treating her like royalty. Linda was the envy wherever she went. She was also very smug. When Larry first woke up, she returned home just to show off in front of me. Larry's family all call me their lucky charm. They say if it weren't for me, Larry wouldn't have woken up so fast. I did worry before he wouldn't like me since we didn't marry for love and he never knew me. I feared he might resist, but who knew he'd fall for me at first sight when he woke up. So, see, being kind pays off. By sacrificing myself for our family, I got such a great fate. I just listened, not really reacting. Seeing I wasn't showing envy or jealousy, she taunted, sis, you can't stand me doing well, huh? Now that I finally have a good life, you act all cold. See, being selfish and unwilling to sacrifice yourself gets you nowhere. I rolled my eyes and got up to do my own things. I wasn't supposed to be home today, but Mom and Dad said Linda was coming, so as the older sister, I had to be there. I didn't want to make our parents uncomfortable. Anna, don't you come asking me for help later. Linda snapped, seeing me ignore her. You know my status in Larry's family now. If anything happens on your end, don't come to me. All right. I agreed instantly, turning to Linda, then don't come to me either if you have any issues. She laughed sarcastically, sis, look at your status now and mine. Do you think I'd have any reason to come to you? Agreed then. I didn't want to waste words. Anna, since we're at this point, let's just lay it all out. Linda said sternly. I frowned at her. What do you mean lay it all out? Now I'm living the good life and thought about helping you out since with Larry's family's wealth, our family can't match it in generations. And as my only sister, I wanted better for you, which is why I introduced you to Jack. But not only did you not appreciate it, you act all snarky with me. So, in front of our parents, let's settle it. Whatever happens, you don't come to me, and likewise, I won't come to you for help. Also, don't you dare go find Larry, he's my husband, and everything of his is mine. I laughed. Finally, I understood Linda was doing all this to keep Larry away from me. Last life, at least in public, Larry was incredibly nice to me. She's afraid he'd fall for me again? Larry just woke up, needing recovery time after being in a coma so long, so she isn't aware of Larry's true nature yet, only knowing that Larry doesn't reject her. Of course. Who would reject prey willingly delivered to their door? Sis, you wouldn't be shameless enough to steal your sister's man, right? Linda freaked out because I didn't immediately promise. I laughed even harder at her flawed logic. How could you be such a freak? Linda shouted. Only someone twisted would project their warped thinking onto others. I retorted. You. I've never thought that way. I'd love for you and Larry to be together forever. I replied, word by word. Then swear it, that you have no interest in Larry at all. Otherwise, may you meet a bad end. Why should I swear anything for you? Not swearing means you're feeling guilty. Do you really think everyone's as dirty and shameless as you? I have morals, unlike you, who have none. Anna, enough. Linda snapped after I hit a nerve. Our parents, seeing us arguing, hurried to mediate. What's the fuss about? Linda came back today, don't fight. We're all family. We're not family anymore. Linda was beyond furious. Today, I'm cutting ties with her as a sister. Linda. If you all try to stop me, I'll cut ties with you too. Don't forget, our family's business is surviving only because of the Pei family, because of me. Mom and Dad felt really embarrassed by what Linda said. Even though it's true, selling your daughter for status is just shameful anywhere. People around us had been gossiping about their behavior. Mom and Dad felt bad, but they were hanging in there for the family's sake. They didn't want to waste the hard work of several generations. Plus, Grandpa's still in the hospital. Without financial support, we couldn't afford his expensive medical bills and would have to watch him die. That's why in my previous life, I willingly sacrificed for the family. But for Linda, it became her leverage to do whatever she wanted at home. Our issues shouldn't involve Mom and Dad. I didn't want to trouble them. And I wasn't in a position to outdo Larry's family yet. I said, I'll cut ties with you. Fine, then we're nothing to each other. No matter what happens to us, we're on our own. Or we'll face a curse. Okay, I agreed without hesitation. Linda smirked. She had achieved both her goals today. First, she ensured I wouldn't cross paths with Larry. Second, she severed ties with me, so she could hog all the wealth for herself. I suddenly wanted to see just how miserable she'd be when she finally regrets it. For a while, Linda didn't come back home. But her news was all over the media. Larry was recovering fast, and his wife Linda accompanied him on every step. Larry took his lovely wife Linda shopping, spending lavishly to win her smile. Larry celebrated Linda's birthday by gifting her a luxurious beach mansion for endless nights of partying. I sat in the office, clenching my fists. Last life, I almost died at that beach house. Those so-called endless nights were literal. For 6 whole months, the media feasted on Larry and Linda's love story. Today, after working late and getting home, I sensed something off right when I walked in. There was Larry, sitting on my couch, with my parents fawning over him. Linda sat obediently beside Larry, the most well-behaved I've ever seen her. She seemed cautious now. It wasn't Larry's first time at our home, but I'd managed to dodge meeting them. Only this time, there were no warnings. Anna's back, my mom called out to me eagerly. This is Larry. Your sister's been married to him for quite a while now, right? Haven't you met him yet? Get acquainted. I looked at Larry. He looked back with interest. He faked a grin and said, Anna, always busy, huh? Every time I'm here, I hear you're working late. How's business going? Need anything from my family? No need to work so hard, you know. I heard you even started streaming to entertain people, tough work. Seeing Larry's deceitful face again made me want to tear it apart. Remembering everything from my past life. I chuckled, it's okay. Can't rely on others forever. Don't push yourself, sis. We're family now. If you need anything, just ask, Larry said generously. Sure. I didn't want to waste more words on him. I still have some work, so I'll head to my room first. You guys take your time chatting. I dropped the line and went straight upstairs. Even a second more of Larry was disgusting. Back in my study, I focused on my tasks. But then I heard arguing from the room next door. I want a divorce from Larry. I'm not going back to his house. I won't. Linda was bawling. You and Larry had a fight? Couples argue all the time. Don't be childish. Larry treats you so well, stop saying foolish things, my mom coaxed her. He's not good to me at all. He's a total psycho. Enough. You've been unpredictable your whole life. It's hard to trust you, my mom sighed, sounding impatient. Linda's dramatic tendencies left her without much credibility. Plus, how could my mom believe Larry wasn't good to her when he was making such a public show of their love? I heard the door open and close, presumably my mom leaving. I smirked a little, feeling a bit of schadenfreude. Suddenly, someone rudely slammed open my study door. Linda saw the smile on my face. Her eyes red and puffy, she glared at me fiercely. Anna, did you know all along? I have no idea what you're talking about, I feigned ignorance. You knew Larry was bad and still let me marry him. How could you be so cruel? Linda yelled, clearly on edge. Feigning surprise, I said, is Larry not good? Doesn't he spoil you wonderfully? With all those jewels, cars, and mansions, everyone envies you. What are you upset about? Are you mocking me? Linda screamed uncontrollably. Mocking? Nah, I genuinely wish you well. But remember, you told me to stay away from Larry and not to ask you for anything. So I've kept my distance, I said with feigned regret. You! Linda was so furious she was about to explode, tears brimming in her eyes. She wanted to say more. Larry, where are you? Let's go home, suddenly came Larry's voice from outside. I saw Linda tremble all over. Her fear of Larry was bone deep and uncontrollable. Before long, Larry appeared in my study, casually wrapping his arm around Linda. Ready, babe? Linda's face turned ghostly white. She threw a hateful glance at me but dared not defy Larry in front of him. She knew the more she resisted, the worse it'd become. After Linda and Larry left, I didn't think much of them. Until that night, Linda called me out of the blue, begging for a ride, claiming she was too drunk to go home. Ridiculous. After reliving this life, did she really expect me to be as dumb as before and fall for her tricks again? I bluntly refused. Linda, don't forget, we severed ties as sisters. You don't help me, I don't help you. Anna, do you want to see me dead? There was a desperate scream on the other line. I ignored her and hung up. That night, the media caught Linda being rushed to the ER. Larry made a public statement to reporters, stating Linda had a bit too much to eat, and he took her to the hospital just to be safe. The next day, Larry's image as a devoted husband peaked, and no one questioned it. I knew it was all just an illusion, but it didn't concern me, so I figured I shouldn't worry about it. But then, a few days later, my live stream was flooded with negative comments. My channel, which usually got positive feedback, was suddenly overrun with people complaining about my product. They claimed my spicy noodles were causing stomachaches and started spreading posts to tarnish my reputation. My live stream sales plummeted, and every day someone called me a heartless seller. I knew this had to be more than just a coincidence. Sure enough, I got a call from Linda. She said, Anna, did you really think you could save the company on your own? You're nothing compared to the Larry family. I knew it was them behind all this. I knew what they were scheming. Today is Larry's birthday, and it's at Harbor City. You better show up, or kiss your business goodbye. After saying that, Linda hung up. I was so angry my hand wouldn't stop shaking as I held the phone. In my last life, Larry tortured me, and I never dragged others into it. But Linda, she can't stand seeing me succeed or her own misery. Still, I showed up that night. When I arrived, Linda was on her knees pouring wine for Larry. As submissive as can be. The love they flaunted outside was a complete lie. Apart from Larry and Jack, there were friends, plus their dates, a complete mess. You're here? Larry slowly placed a foot on Linda's back as she knelt. treating her like an animal. Linda didn't dare to resist. Thought you were proud? Larry jeered. See, it only takes a finger to bankrupt you and your family. So all those negative reviews on my stream, that was you? I shouted at him. Larry shrugged, not bothering to hide, just a little trick. Upset? Why are you doing this? Larry suddenly kicked Linda over. She hit a table hard but didn't make a sound. Larry leisurely stood up and walked up to me, lifting my chin. You tell me, Anna? Him saying my name almost made me lose it and slap him. Every time he said it, it was when he was at his creepiest. Your sister was boring. Half a year and I was done. But you, Anna, you stay on my mind, Larry said sleazily. Enough. I backed away from Larry, keeping my distance. But he didn't care. He said, quit pretending, Anna. You think I don't know you're just like me? He stopped short of saying the words reborn. After all, others were around. I knew he was reborn. I could tell the moment I saw him from the way he looked at me. You know what I'm capable of. Behave yourself, or tomorrow you'll see your family business go under. In my past life, Larry kept threatening me like this, forcing me to submit. Come join us, Larry said, not wasting more time on me. He thought a few words would bend me to his will. I laughed coldly and turned to leave. Larry grabbed me and threw me on the couch. Refuse a toast only to drink forfeit. Everyone, get her. I saw men closing in on me. Through a gap, I noticed Linda's evil grin. She wanted me to suffer even more than she ever had. And just then, the door burst open. Police. Several officers stormed in. Stand up all of you. The scene got chaotic. Everyone scrambled to get dressed. Larry didn't panic. He walked over to the police. Do you know who I am? I don't care who you are, the officer replied. There's a report on an illegal gathering. Everyone's going to the station for questioning. Are you nuts? I'm Larry, a wealthy heir. You must have a death wish. Larry sneered at the police. Arrest them all. The officer ordered. Larry cursed and punched a cop in the face. Assaulting an officer, making things worse. The officer quickly tackled Larry to the ground. Larry fell painfully, screaming, "Get off me! You'll regret this." Larry didn't know that everything happening was being broadcast live across the internet. Lesson learned. In my past life, I secretly recorded and reported, but Larry got back at me. This time, I wasn't going to be so foolish. I expected everything, so I had a mini camera on me, with my company's IT department live streaming it in real time. Now, the whole country witnessed what Larry did. No marker how powerful he was, he couldn't escape. With everyone watching, Larry was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Jack got 3. His so-called friends got various sentences. Linda got away unscathed. She pretended to be a victim. After the sentencing, I visited Larry in jail. He was bald but showed no remorse. He confidently said, "Anna, do you think you've won? In 5 years, when I'm out, you'll wish you were dead." Oh really? I smirked. I wasn't there out of kindness. I had good news for him. I pulled out recent news articles. Your company stock has been plummeting due to your scandal. Its value dropped 2/3 in just 6 months. Larry's face darkened but didn't crumble. I continued, the chairman is under investigation for fraud and was detained recently. Panic set in his eyes. And, I said slowly, the chairman's wife had a stroke from all this stress and is in critical condition. Larry was at his breaking point. Smiling, I delivered the final blow. Today's update. Your dad's assistant, who's also his girlfriend, took all the remaining money and disappeared. Your company is now an empty shell and will soon declare bankruptcy. How does it feel when everything's collapsing? Larry couldn't hold back. No way. You're lying. Our family's wealth can't just disappear. Our money lasts generations. Sure, if spent wisely. But thanks to you and Jack, it's all gone, I said coldly. This mess your family is in is all your own doing. Shut up, just shut up. Anna, when I get out of here, I'm gonna kill you. Larry was losing it, his eyes blazing red. One of the guards slammed his head onto the table. Watching him, all veins popping yet helpless, was quite satisfying. I smirked at him like I was at a show and whispered in his ear, "That is if you live that long." "What do you mean?" "Just that," I chuckled coldly. I stood up to leave, then turned back and added, "Oh, just so you know, a new city billionaires list came out recently, and my company made it to #1. I watched as Larry's eyes turned bloodshot instantly, overwhelmed and unable to handle it. I walked out, only to hear the guard shout behind me, "Stay still, behave yourself." And it seemed like Larry was begging, "Don't hit me anymore, I won't move, please don't." Couldn't have imagined Larry would see this day, huh? Who says revenge doesn't feel good? When I got home from the prison, Linda's voice hit my ears. That woman sure has some nerve. Even after Larry was arrested, she didn't plan on leaving his house. Once the news broke, my parents insisted Linda divorce Larry. As their daughter, they still cared for her. But Linda refused. She thought with Larry and Jack behind bars, she could have a good life in Larry's house, spending the family fortune. When my parents scolded her in desperation, she accused them of being envious and threatened to cut ties with them. I'm guessing she still believes without Larry's financial help, our family will soon go bankrupt. Larry and Jack landed in prison because of me, so naturally, their family must hold grudges. To avoid involving her, she made her stance clear. But in mere months, it was Larry's family that went bankrupt. So here she was, shamelessly crawling back. When she saw me, she eagerly greeted, "Sis. Don't call me that. Didn't we break ties? Sis, that's all in the past. You're not gonna hold a grudge against my youthful ignorance, are you?" Linda tried to act cute, but I felt a pang of disgust. Couldn't help it, I actually gagged. Linda looked visibly embarrassed. I gave her no soft looks and said bluntly, "You made it very clear that we have nothing to do with each other, or get struck by lightning. I'm scared to death about that." "Sis." Linda dragged out the word, trying to win me over. "And hey, I'm only older by 15 minutes. We're the same age, so stop pretending to be young. It's gross." Linda's face turned beet red. "Butler, see her out," I ordered and added, "and if anyone irrelevant comes knocking, don't open the door." "Yes, ma'am." The staff quickly approached and said, "Miss Linda, this way, please." Linda's eyes turned red, knowing she couldn't win me over. She quickly turned to our parents, crying, "Mom, Dad, Sis wants to kick me out. You have to help me." I saw a flicker of hesitation in my parents' eyes. But then my mom decided firmly, "This house really doesn't welcome you. You should leave and don't come back." Linda's eyes widened, she didn't expect our parents to be so cold. "I'm your own daughter, how could you do this to me?" Linda screamed. "Didn't you willingly cut ties with us?" My mom said coldly. "When everything was good, you didn't have us in your eyes. Now you're in trouble and you seek us out, thinking we're pushovers? But if I hadn't sacrificed myself by marrying Larry back then, our family would have gone bankrupt long ago." Linda protested. "I don't know why you agreed to marry Larry back then, but I'm certain it wasn't for our family's sake," my mom stated, one word at a time. Linda was at a loss for words. "Show her out," my mom ordered. "I'm not leaving, this is my home, I'm not leaving." Linda protested, lying down. I signaled for our handyman to carry her out. After she left, my mom specifically advised me, "No marker what Linda asks you to do in the future, don't do it." Got it. Linda had indeed alienated everyone. I used to worry my parents might go soft. Truly, some misdeeds you can't bounce back from. I thought getting kicked out by our family would settle Linda down. But nope, she went and started a live stream online, accusing us of being ungrateful. She claimed she married a coma patient, Larry, to keep our family from going bankrupt. When Larry woke up, he was a freak who tortured her, yet she endured it all to protect the family business. Now that the company was thriving and Larry was in jail, she accused us of casting her out for being tainted. Linda's live stream got so popular, she pulled 10,000 viewers immediately. Everyone felt sorry for Linda. We became the target of online harassment. Of course, the company took a hit, with stock prices dropping. My live stream and companies were swarmed with trolls. I tried calling Linda. She didn't answer mine or my parents' calls. Cashing in on sympathy and selling stuff online, she was making a killing. Probably thinks she hit the jackpot, getting back at us while lining her own pockets. But my patience only goes so far. I thought as long as she didn't cause trouble, lived her own life after Larry's drama, I could let things slide. Some folks just keep pushing it. So when her viewership peaked, I dropped several videos on my social media. First was when Linda volunteered to marry Larry, seeing our parents were struggling with the decision. Next was her refusing my offer to marry Larry instead, insisting on marrying him herself. Then, her cutting ties with me and the family. I followed it with an audio clip of Linda telling me to attend Larry's birthday. Finally, footage from the party where Larry bullied me while Linda stood by, wearing a malicious victorious smirk. I made sure to zoom and slow it down, so no one could miss it this time. With all that, the truth was laid bare. But Linda was still in her live stream, peddling her sob story. You guys don't know what life at home was like. Mom and Dad always favored my sister, ignored me. I grew up in her hand-me-downs, eating her leftovers. User 1, stop lying. We already know who you really are. Linda read that comment and frowned. I know you guys can't believe that things like this still happen in today's society. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I wouldn't believe it either. User 1, enough. How long are you going to keep up this act? Refund. Refund. Linda was getting annoyed. If you can't empathize with the suffering in this world, then you're not welcome in my live stream. Just leave. User 2, it takes some serious nerve to say such disgusting things. User 3, absolutely gross. I even bought a lot from her live stream, only to find out the quality is awful. Linda's live stream was filled with criticisms. At first, Linda tried to explain, but it was clear she couldn't handle it anymore. She couldn't control her temper and snapped back. Buy if you want, don't buy if you don't. Just get out of my live stream. Linda finally realized what was going on after her assistant clued her in. Her expression changed instantly. She hastily ended the live stream. Then she immediately called me. Anna, how could you be so evil, secretly filming so many videos? All I did was laugh. I'm evil? This is called self-defense. If I hadn't been reborn and prepared early, you would have ruined me again. You got reborn too? I knew it, Anna. I knew you were out to get me. You set me up, step by step. Linda was on the verge of breaking down. I didn't set up anything. You chose every path yourself. Let's put it this way, if you hadn't turned on me and my parents, I wouldn't have shared these videos. At least you'd live a normal life. You think I'll believe you? Linda said harshly. Otherwise, when Larry got caught, I would have exposed these videos to everyone. Linda was left speechless. I guess it's true what they say, what goes around, comes around. I sneered and calmly continued, Linda, if I'm not mistaken, you'll soon face a flood of returns in your live stream. With that agreement you signed with the manufacturer, if a single live stream fails to meet sales targets, you're going to face some serious losses. On top of that, since you were involved in selling unregulated products, you've committed a criminal offense. The cops will be knocking on your door real soon. And lastly, I did some research. If sales of unregulated products exceed 2 million, it's a 15-year sentence. By my calculations, your sales are way beyond that mark. Anna. Linda screamed in frustration. Congrats, you're facing a lifetime behind bars. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Linda's mind was falling apart. And when Linda threatens to kill me, she's not just saying it. Early the next morning, I noticed a suspicious car following me. It's laughable. I've lived one life already, there's no chance I let the same trick work again. The moment I was reborn, I started honing my driving skills, just for this day. My brow furrowed. I slammed my foot on the gas. Linda was hot on my tail and sped up to catch me. In that moment, I pulled off a quick drift and turn. I narrowly dodged an oncoming truck, but Linda couldn't stop or turn fast enough, crashing straight into it. The impact was brutal, demolishing the front of Linda's car. She survived but was paralyzed, destined to spend the rest of her life confined to a bed. I went to visit her. She looked at me, still agitated and angry, yet there was nothing she could do. It was definitely more painful for her than death. I looked down at her and mocked, even being reborn, fools remain fools. Enjoy your incomplete, foolish half-life. I saw Linda finally break down in tears. I wasn't sure if she was regretting or if she just couldn't accept it. Not that it mattered. I left the hospital. I wasn't coming back. My parents never showed up even once. I told them about Linda's accident while they were on a vacation abroad. They just said casually, she brought it upon herself. To live life like Linda did is certainly tragic. I looked up at the blue sky and felt a profound sense of relief. From now on, I'm going to enjoy the beautiful life I missed out on in my last one.